glad to have so many of you here. Glad to have staff from Smith Falls Town Hall, from Montague, and from Parks Canada, and also from the health sector, as well as from both the food producer and the food retailer aspect. In this room here, there are lots of insights and experts. And after Jim presented us with the concept of Biosphere eco-cities, we will have a short question and answer period. And then by the time, you probably would like a break. So we will give you a washroom break. 10 minutes. Afterwards, we'll come back. And then we'll start sharing on the projects.
My name is John Gibson. I'm a director with the Rideau Roundtable, and it's a great pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker, who's a friend of mine of over 40 years, I guess, Mr. Jim Birtch. Jim is the founder and chair of the Ottawa Biosphere Eco-City Council, which was created in 2009 as a model approach to making communities sustainable. A graduate of Carleton University in geography, Jim began his career in social work in the 1970s, working with Ottawa's homeless people, and later working on various community projects to meet the needs of the disadvantaged. In the 1980s, he joined Parks Canada, where he had a distinguished 30-year career and received the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal in 2002 for his national and international work on biosphere reserves. In 2010, the Mayor of Ottawa presented him with the city's Eco-City Stewardship Award for his work on sustainability. Jim's presentation tonight will focus on applying principles of the Biosphere Eco-City Initiative to Smith Falls and the region. This is a concept that not only is recognized locally, but it has got some global recognition. Jim recently was in the United Arab Emirates, making a presentation there, which was greatly received. This presentation then will be followed, as Peter said, by a workshop on sustainable food. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Jim Birtch.
A little bit because the slideshow wasn't working. I think it was my fault for pressing the wrong button. And by the way, Peter told me that there'd be several people here with suits, so I thought I'd better wear one. Took my jeans off and put this on, and I guess I stand out in a crowd now. This is going to be a presentation on sustainability in general and the tools that we're using in Ottawa. And then we're going to have a workshop for an hour or less if we have less time. We're going to talk about some local food initiatives here. And we want you to contribute ideas to those initiatives. And if we have time, we'll do a couple of other things after that, including perhaps forming an ongoing group to carry forward the ideas of this workshop. I've just been learning about, very recently, about all that's going on here in the area of food. So this is your workshop. Before we start the workshop, I'm going to ask you what we should do in it. So you'll make the decision what we want to address. But I'm pretty sure that we're at least going to address 4 food projects that can use your ideas on how to meet some of the challenges. Food, by the way, is one of the issues, one of the themes of sustainability that we use in the Biosphere Eco-City model. It's listed on the first side. There's the Rideau Community Garden. I don't believe we had a handout on that, but Mona, when she has a chance to talk. No, you're Rideau. Okay.
I'm with the Rideau Environmental Action League, which is a 25-year-old environmental organization based in Smith Falls. And the main thing you know us for is the Real Deal Reuse Store. But we do a bunch of other environmental things, energy audits, well assessments, all sorts of stuff. One of the projects that we have is called the Real Community Garden. And it was started at our site, our location, about 5 years ago. So just so I know, does everybody here, did you get to read about it? Does anybody not know the basics about it? Okay, I'll be very quick then on that one. So we started about 5 years ago. We started very few resources. We've got some straw bales, we built some raised beds, and we filled those initial four beds. And we had 4 community partners, all community organizations. So ourselves, we had the youth club, we had the Link, which is a resource for people with mental illness, and the community health center here. And so we had a few resources from those, including a little bit of money from Eco Perth. And so we started. And our concept then was that because we were all community organizations, we would grow, in effect, sort of finger food, finger produce for our volunteers and clients and that sort of thing. And we would engage our volunteers and clients in growing too, as a means of learning, right? Got some additional resources. We have ended up now, we have 12 raised beds there. They are really very innovative. They're made with cedar plank, and they're filled, and they're nice raised beds. It cost us about $500 each. So we have put $6,000 into that little operation. That's a challenge for any community garden. It takes money. No two ways about it. At this point now, we have 11 of those beds are rented by individual tenants at $20 a season. And one of them we provide as a community share. We actually call it the Stone Soup Share Bed. And that one we have planted this year. Angela Pelledo planted it for us. And the intent of that is that people are able to help themselves to whatever is grown in that bed. And it was done in part as a deterrence to theft from the other individual beds. Not that we had an enormous amount of that, but we had some, right? We thought, okay, let's offer something instead. That has been marginally successful. Broadly speaking, the individual beds work very well. And somebody else ended up cleaning out, I don't know why, a section of their bed early, a whole bunch of carrots left in the pile, and just left them. We have a Facebook page, you know, to connect our members, right? So the idea being that if somebody has extra carrots, they can go on there and say, help yourselves to the carrots that I just harvested. We have an email system, so we communicate or can communicate that way, but again, we didn't have that happen. So that's one of our challenges is how do we make sure that this opportunity is used in the best, truly exploited and make the best use of it. And if people aren't going to harvest for themselves, how can we at least get to understand that we can go and harvest and take it to the food bank then, or whatever, maybe do something with it, because it's awful to see this loss.
Do you have another issue?
That's a primary one.
The food waste issue.
We are not planning to expand at this point. We have 11 beds, and we have had some requests. Every year we get a couple of additional requests. At this point, we have decided that's enough. We will help any other community gardening project get going in Smith Falls instead, at another location, rather than us expanding. That's the extent of it. So that's the primary challenge is the wastage, is communicating with our group, and just the ongoing challenges of money and human resources to coordinate. Because we do it now on a sort of a shared volunteer system.
What was the goal of the garden? Did you have
Oh,
a real goal when you started?
yeah, it was to provide some beds to produce food for those in town who didn't have access to a growing area. And it was also to demonstrate community gardening. There have been numerous attempts before, nothing had worked in this one. So ours was the first community garden.
How do we have days of gardeners and not the harvesters?
I think they were the same, but evidently not.
Of producers, and so if any of you have a handout from Miller's Bay, the information on it, I'll just summarize what they wrote here. But if any of you know, Robert and Shannon Miller are on, at Rideau Ferry, on the Rideau Ferry Road going to Birtch, and they have a fairly big farm. This is the fourth generation. As appreciating the value of diversification, Miller's Bay Farm has always been a mixed farm, although the mix has changed over the years. Prior to 2006, the primary focus was the dairy herd with maple syrup and vegetables as sideline interests. Upon the sale of the milk quota in cattle in 2006, the focus changed. The emphasis was then mainly on the vegetable crops, field crops, with the addition of at that time of a strawberry patch as well. The majority of the produce grown on the farm is sold directly to consumers at farm gate, with a smaller percentage moved on the wholesale level through various grocery stores, caterers, and restaurants. So then they have some thoughts. To break it down very simply, two of the most critical aspects of creating a culture of sustainability for Smith Falls and the area are distribution and education. So distribution, not all farmers are marketers. Many prefer to focus on doing what they do best, which is the growing. And this test will generally now applies at producers' time from early spring through late fall, leaving little time for tapping into potential new markets or traveling the countryside making deliveries. The existence of food hubs such as the new Two Rivers Food Hub provides a logical solution to that missing link, effectively taking care of distribution and marketing pieces of the puzzle. And then the second thing is education, and the link between consumers and the food they eat must be reestablished. And I think there's a lot of that going on with the whole foodie movement, and we're all aware of the interest in local food has had. People need to understand and take an interest in where and how their food is grown. There are several ways to begin to accomplish this. Provide well-substantiated and honest information about the health benefits and other advantages of local food. Involve consumers in growing and preparing their own food through hands-on opportunities such as Rio's community gardens, canning and preserving workshops, gardening and cooking seminars, etc. And welcome consumers back onto the farm. We're no longer in an age where everyone has an aunt, cousin, or grandparent with a farm they can visit. Pick your own operations, farm share programs, school tours, and even roadside stands and farmers markets all allow consumers to feel more of a connection to the people and the places where their food is grown. I'll just add also as a producer, albeit much smaller than Shannon and Robert have become. I mean, they've done an excellent job. Despite what they say about marketing, they've done an excellent job of marketing themselves. And they've explored almost every avenue that's possible out there for them to distribute their food. As a smaller marketer, we sell our stuff at the farmers market almost exclusively, so at retail level. And it's true, it takes up a large proportion of your time. So the time that you would normally want to spend doing the growing, the weeding, the picking, the washing, all that stuff, if you're then having to make the deliveries as well, and approaching people and selling them on the benefits of why this carrot is better than another carrot or whatever. The reason is, there's a lot of time that demands on you, and the time is already being spent because farmers, as we know, work from sunrise to sunset, and so that's just extra time that is now spent doing this extra step. So marketing is a big issue for smaller farmers. And I would also say that while the local food movement, as I said, is quite big, we have to ask ourselves, what's the reason why we as a group should all be concerned about local food? To me, it's not because local food tastes better or any of that stuff, which is probably quite true. If you taste a just picked carrot, it tastes better than a store carrot. Fine. Everyone can probably acknowledge that. I think the real question is, what are we allowing to happen to our communities if we give away our food resources? So if we allow our farmland to be converted into suburbs and malls and things like that, we are in essence giving the power over to other communities or groups who can grow the food for us and dictate in the end the price, the quality, quantity of what it is that we're eating. Now, that could be the next community down the road. That's not so bad. But what if eventually it becomes China? And China is the only place that's growing large quantities of food. As a society, we've given over our right to choice by the food choices that we've made in consuming. So that's my little spiel on sustainable food.
Thank you.
Okay?
The old St. James School was, for those of us who've been in Smith Falls for a while. It's a hub high school, so students come in from Brockville, Prescott, Perth, Carleton Place, and other communities in the region. And it's primarily for students with learning differences. And I'm an occasional teacher with the Catholic School Board, and the teacher who coordinated this from St. Luke is Carolyn Crosby, and she's in Toronto tonight. But I'm just going to show a video that Carolyn put together on the program at St. Luke's, and we have a greenhouse at the school that was built in part through a grant and through funding from the board, and there are, I think, 6 or 8 raised vegetable beds that the students built and designed themselves. And what happens is you get students from math class working with students from English or science class out there from grades 7 through 12, and the kids are designing and assembling this through the supervision of teachers. And it's pretty interesting because they've done this over a couple of years now, and they've tied it into another curriculum program, which is hospitality. So there's canning at in the kitchen at St. Luke, and they make salsa and other things. And the vegetables are pretty cool, and it's really neat to see how see the smiles on the kids' faces. And what's gone on is that the St. Luke's has partnered up with the Salvation Army in Smith Falls, and Salvation Army comes in and they help maintain the vegetable gardens in the summer, and then vegetables grown at the school are distributed through the Salvation Army to help feed people in Smith Falls. So there's like, I'm going to say 70 people, 70, 80 people who get partially fed through the produce grown by the kids. So you have a closed group there. And they also have we have a plant sale at St. Luke in the spring for if you want to buy tomatoes. And I'll show the video. It doesn't have any sound, it just has music. And what's really touched me as a teacher is that just the garden over the summertime. We have a drip irrigation system that's plugged in and on a timer, and that helps. So, because one of the teachers, Mr. Dissette, does the electric work, does the plumbing with the kids, and so on. So that really helps out. Another one is just getting general skills operating the greenhouse, because right now we could have vegetables growing and planted. So it's just knowledge on operating a greenhouse. And there have been some failures. Like, for example, we planted a large pumpkin patch this year, and all the pumpkins died for some reason. Could have been too much water, for example. And it's pretty interesting because it's focusing on the strengths of the students. Like for example, you might be in grade 7 or 8 and read the grade 2 or 3 level, but some of my students are, they really get engaged in hands-on activities and seeing success, and it's pretty neat, and it's in Smith Falls. If you have any,
What's the size of the school population?
I think there is 120 students. I'm probably wrong on that. Maybe 150 students. Goes from grade 7 through grade 12.
What are some of the problems you're having with the greenhouse?
If Mrs. Crosby was here, she'd answer them, but I think it's just getting things growing in the greenhouse and using it on a year-round basis and making connections in the community. Like we haven't made a connection to and just making people, like that's a neat thing about tonight is just people making aware of what other people are doing as well.
Is it, is it going now?
It's not going right now.
When do you start?
They might start in January, they could start now, but I'm gonna defer that to Mrs. Crosby, Carol, and we could just get your
I'll
contact.
drop over Thursday.
Any other questions?
Yeah, is the greenhouse heated or is it just
It is,
solar?
it's just solar,
Okay.
but we do have an electric fan in it to
Right.
keep it cool in the summertime.
And what are you growing in it? Is it just starting your plants for your garden
They
or you're
grow,
growing plants?
Vegetables, and they start vegetables and flowers.
Sure.
And the other thing, one of the future projects from this is because we abut Broadview Nursing Home, is to create a linkage from Broadview Nursing Home to there's a native indigenous butterfly garden at St. Luke's as well, to let the residents at Broadview come over and sit outside in the garden. And the other neat thing is we bring over students from 7 and 8, grade 7 and 8, to play cards with the residents at Broadview Nursing Home, and it's a great connection because it's kids making a connection with senior citizens. That's it. Thank you.
I'll tell you a bit of a story about some adventures in gardening in a particular neighborhood within Smith Falls. So in 2012, the woman who was at that time the director of Lanark County Housing Corporation, who had come from Ottawa and had a lot of experience with housing there and community development, wanted to do something about some of the neighborhoods in Lanark County that were social housing projects, but there really wasn't any community development going on or any work with the tenants other than housing issues. So she she invited people to join, and we formed a service provider committee to begin to work with residents. And we started at Empress Avenue, Sussex and Empress Avenue in Smith Falls, which is a neighborhood of 44 rent-geared to income houses with about 144 people. At the time, the composition of the neighborhood changes, but at the time it was a sizable group of children. And over the course of a year of building relationships with the residents, we were able to have Lanark County designate one of the units, a 3-bedroom house, as a spot for programming and a spot for community to come together. But before that happened, in the summer of 2012, our organization, we had a community cleanup day with all the partners. And in the course of that, we were getting to meet residents, and people were talking about what they needed. And one lady mentioned, we used to have a garden, we used to have a vegetable garden, it was right over there, and we should have that again. And we were very fortunate at that time to have one of the dietitians at the Community Health Center, who's here tonight, Tammy James, who had a lot of experience with gardening, I would say has a passion for gardening. And so she was able to start up a children's garden with children that lived in that neighborhood, and they ran it all summer. They'd have a Monday night get-together, a healthy snack, and do the various chores of the garden. So we've kept that going for 3 years. And I wouldn't say that it's a large producing garden. It's more or less a recreational activity for the children at this point. But that doesn't mean that we can't look at it as being something more productive. It's relatively small. So maybe the idea would be to grow 2 crops a year rather than a little bit of everything. But we haven't really talked to the children about what would you like to do next year. And we are a little dependent on summer students. Like we need a person who's passionate about gardening to get involved with that for the 1 night a week. There's also, right next to Empress Avenue, there is an area called Tarquin Court, which is also right geared to income housing. But for some reason there's a field behind the houses, and there is a raised bed for vegetable gardens as big as this room, probably bigger. And one of the residents uses a corner of it and grows some vegetables, but we're talking about there's untapped potential there, even if we just planted it completely full of potatoes for one summer, or that we actually used it to generate some food up there. We've discovered that it takes a little bit of time to get residents involved and interested, but now they're coming out, and I think if we offered some gardening skill workshops at the beginning of the year, that we would get a few people to come out. The fellow that does garden there, this year he magically went over and tilled the children's garden and didn't want gas or anything for it, he just wanted to do it, so there's some of that happening. And the third thing that we're doing in it that's linked is we've started a collective kitchen. So we're doing once a month, Joanne Harris is the community health worker and has been involved with that. We haven't had it in a couple of months, but we'd like to be able to link making spaghetti sauce from the tomatoes that we grow in the garden. So that's the longer term goal. We really could use the help of some people in the community that are really, really good at gardening, because while I have a passion for it, I didn't listen hard enough when my dad was planting the huge garden in the backyard that we could never eat enough, we could never eat all the food out of. So my skills are limited. And I'd like to have more skills. So if there are people in the room or you know of a way that you could work with us and with St. Luke's to fill in the skill gaps that we have, that would be great.
Let's see, there is the food charter that you also actually brought copies along, right?
I did.
Yeah, would you like to yeah.
Together formed Food Corps LGL, of which Bill Dobson is one of the co-chairs. So we created the food charter last fall, had a consultation, and launched it at the end of March. So you'll see from the sheet that's passed out, there's 6 kind of main goals that we have. So we're looking for people to endorse the charter. And right now that small group has got together and sort of looked at what's the next step. We have all this great stuff on the food charter. How do we actually take action on what's going on? So we are about to start a strategic planning session. But we met and briefly discussed sort of what the next steps might be. And one of them is sort of to gather information on what food projects are going on. So I'll let you look at the food charter. If you have any questions, I'm happy to talk to you.
My name is Andrew. It's up there.
Imagine hearing these conversations in the future. A woman talking to her husband. Let's go to Smith Falls this weekend. They have a restaurant competition featuring local food. A chairman talking to his board. After graduation, I'm going back home to Smith Falls. There's a future for me there. Let's make Smith Falls sustainable. I'm going to talk about sustainability and its benefits, ways to make it sustainable with an introduction to the Biosphere Ecocity tools and themes, which are simple, and conserving natural resources such as soil, water, forests. It also means conserving human resources such as strong families, strong communities, and good education systems. It means adopting some of the practices of our grandparents, paying attention to things around us, helping each other, making things last. And it means using modern tools and information such as geographical information systems and soil and water analysis. So why do we need sustainability now? Because mankind has overused the Earth's resources, and it's created a number of significant worldwide problems. Starting from the top left, we have shortage of resources, and the most serious of these now worldwide is water. We have loss of biodiversity, frequent extreme storm events, hunger, pollution, and disease. And living and working sustainably can address all of these issues. It can also help to conserve the biosphere. Biosphere means sphere of life. It's the Earth's outer sphere of land, water, and atmosphere that sustains all life. That's why we have Biosphere in the name, Biosphere Eco-City. By the way, Eco-City is just a broad movement of sustainable cities around the world. Sustainability produces local benefits. One is well-being. Did you know that if you spend some time in the woods once a week, you will significantly increase your health and longevity? That's one of the facts in this book, Your Brain on Nature. The scientific proof of this is just becoming known. And gardening is second to the woods in terms of health benefits. It helps the communities. This is the Children's Garden on Main Street in Ottawa. The local association asked the city to use a little used urban park, and they turned it into a children's garden where the kids grow their own food and they learn about health. There's activities all summer long for the kids, and it's a focal point now for the community. Sustainability leads to economic development. This is the city of Curitiba, which is one of the world's first sustainable cities. Formerly a dirty, polluted, industrial city. Now it's full of green spaces. It has a massive recycling program. It has a very good bus transportation system. And it's now Brazil's #2 producer of automobiles. Its rate of economic development is several points above the country's average, which itself is high. And it has opportunities for small business, and the rate of academic uptake, success in school, is the highest in the country. And the leaders, the mayors of Curitiba, have said that the reason that the economic development is so good is because, there was my voice, because it's a sustainable city and the quality of life is high. I'm going to talk a little bit more quietly. Yeah, water would be great, please. Another local benefit is balancing urban and rural benefits of development. And lately, we're getting strength from the local food movement, and this, of course, is the Smiths Falls Farmers Market. And the other is local conservation. This is the Smiths Falls Swales, which I think is a great tongue twister. So how do you do it? Well, up till now, the main tool has been planning. And planning is important. Planning is long-term, it's strategic. It gives us a focus. It coordinates among sectors. And so planning has produced dozens of sustainable cities around the world. Here's examples from China and Curitiba and Denmark. The problem is, planning cannot succeed in most of the world's over 3,000 cities. They lack key elements for planning success. They don't have the tools, the expertise, enough resources, or enough time. They need a new resource and a new approach to be sustainable. This is even an issue in modern cities such as Ottawa. Choosing our future, sustainability planning for the National Capital Region, and I was on the steering committee for that, was produced a few years ago at great expense and never implemented. Rural areas are not becoming sustainable either, because they're tied to decisions made in cities. They also need a new resource and a new approach. That new resource is human capital, the energy and ideas of ordinary people. And the new approach is engaging people in sustainability. Human capital has a lot of power for positive change. I'll give you two quick examples. In the 1980s, I was a worker for refugee communities in Eastern Ontario. And my approach was simple. Listen to them, reflect what they said, give them ideas I picked up from other communities, and watch miracles take place. In a few short years, I saw communities transform to prosperity and happiness. This same approach, sharing of information and cooperating, can produce a sustainable, healthy, and prosperous Smiths Falls region. The other example is the open source movement. Not very long ago, most major technological development was produced by large corporations who held the patent rights, jealously guarded them, and now the open source movement has begun to grow. Companies will freely share their technology, collectively develop products, and give the products away. They make their money now on providing advice on use of products, on applications. This open source has been more innovative and faster than the old proprietary system. The Linux platform, the Firefox browser, and many, many others have been wildly successful, harnessing the ideas and initiative of people. We can make information on sustainability open source too, and we can apply it in Smiths Falls. When stakeholders cooperate, sharing information with each other, we've done a bit of that tonight, they help each other with their projects, and the total amount of sustainability produced is much greater than you're going to get by one stakeholder, government, by itself. What happens when people are engaged in sustainability is society gets transformed. Well, you know culture guides our decisions. And three significant things happen when people are engaged. First, government, which likes to give people what they want, will put sustainability in all their programs. Businesses, who respond very quickly to changes in demand, will produce more sustainable goods and services. And citizens who make many more decisions than government or business combined will base their work and home decisions on sustainability. This doesn't need to take long. There's a tipping point for cultural change. The Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, America's oldest research university, has found that when 10% of the people hold firmly onto a belief, the rest of the population will adopt it. What does that mean in the context of Smiths Falls? Well, hypothetically, imagine if Home Hardware or Canadian Tire ran a one-month sustainability campaign, perhaps based on their products. And it reached 50% of the people in Smiths Falls. And 1 in 5 of those people began to practice sustainability in their home or work life. That's your 10%, and sustainability will grow automatically from that point. So how do you engage people in sustainability? You make it simple and appealing. And we have a model to do that. The Biosphere Eco-City model, or BEC, which is KISS in French, by the way, is a model to engage everyone. It uses simple themes and tools. It's been tested in Ottawa for 5 years, and it works. This is just a diagram. Biosphere Eco-City is an urban core, town, city, and the surrounding countryside where there's a strong interdependence. And the urban-rural cooperation is a major objective of a Biosphere Eco-City. This is how it works. You have your themes and tools listed on the left here. And each of these addresses all 4 pathways to engagement in sustainability. Understanding of sustainability, involvement, taking initiative, and sharing what we learn. BEC divides sustainability into 10 themes: transportation, energy, design, food, etc., which are concrete areas of action. They're easy to understand. They relate to the interests of people and organizations, and they're linked to decision making. And I'll keep that idea as I go through the themes quickly. We make daily decisions on transportation. How do we get the kids to school? Are we going to carpool to work? How do we ship our goods? What do we use to go up and down the rivers? I can even make a case for a car club being a sustainable initiative, because they keep the cars really well tuned and they don't drive them very much. We make daily decisions on food. We may be producers or distributors. We may be buying healthy local food, giving our food to the food bank when we have a surplus. Waste is a daily decision process for us, sorting our garbage, reusing, recycling, visiting the local depot. And health, what are we doing to keep the air clean, the water clean? Are we taking advantage of the tranquility of nature to refresh ourselves? Are we providing access to nature for vulnerable groups, children, the aged, the handicapped? And sustainable recreation. Most of us do something, at least once a week, for recreation. And this is a town full of good teams and a concern for safe recreation.
Over the long term, we make decisions on energy. Perhaps we want to reduce electrical use or heating costs in our homes, in our businesses, on our farms. And we learn more and more about design. We could apply new engineering principles to our houses, to our workplaces. Or we could take part in projects for sustainable community design. And we have a long-term relationship to habitat, living places for plants and animals. Many people deal daily with natural capital, land, water, soil, natural building materials, any natural element directly meeting human needs. And all the time we're influenced by our sense of place. Sense of place is the personal connection we feel to where we live. And a strong sense of place can lead to environmental stewardship and social responsibility, caring for other people. And sense of place can be enhanced by certain natural and cultural features, such as the one on the left here, you all recognize it, the Rideau Canal itself and the Rideau River, or by famous local people. Now, if this is Winnipeg, I'd be showing you a picture of, let's see, Burton Cummings. But here you have Brittany Henderson, who is better looking than Burton Cummings. And also, movies in the park. Events can enhance sense of place. Just a couple more points on the themes. A theme will connect stakeholders with a different background but a common interest. And this diversity makes stronger projects. You can get a couple of themes in a project, such as waste and energy, and the different approaches also strengthen a project. So my suggestion to you is pick a theme, get involved, and connect with people who have the same interests as you do. The themes also provide a structure for the tools. I'll go through those now. The first tool of the Biosphere EcoCity is a database of sustainability projects. Viewers can see what others are doing. They can contact them for more information. I'll show you 3 quick projects. The one on the right is in the area of food. It's called Hidden Harvest Ottawa. Volunteers pick fruit and nuts from trees that were not being harvested, and then they share the produce with the tree owners and with the needy. And this one project has engaged many people in sustainability in Ottawa. They've just distributed 3,000 pounds of food. On the left is a project for habitat. It's the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority's City Stream Watch, which to date has used 1,300 volunteers for assessment, cleanup, and so on in streams. And the one on the right, and under energy, is a very small project. That's Greening with Gratitude, and that's really Adam. He decided to reduce his energy use and keep track of his savings. And then he said he'd give away 10% of everything he saved. So I saw Adam in September, and he had $500 to give away to someone who wants to try to do what he's doing. You can find Adam on the database of sustainability projects, Greening with Gratitude. You might want to develop a database of sustainability projects in Smith Falls. That would be a nice thing, I think. But until you do, you're quite welcome to put your projects on the Ottawa database. If you put the word Smith Falls in the project description, the keyword search should be able to pick them up. And then when you develop a database in the future, transfer the projects over. It's very easy to input projects. It'll take you about 20 minutes if you know your project. Just go onto the website and instructions are there. The second tool is sustainability plan. This is getting people together in an organization and having them collectively select key issues and actions for each theme of sustainability. For example, food, energy. We first did this with and this becomes an agenda for action. Pick the projects from that as time goes on. We tested it with 160 grade 7 students, and they did quite a good job. This is a little piece of their plan. On the right, you can see actions for recreation. The ones in red are proposed for the school. The ones in blue are do with the parents or friends, and the ones in green do with your community group. Then we trained university students to help a high school create a sustainability plan. This was a lot of fun. And then in the spring, we tested it for a city at a conference in the United Arab Emirates, and it worked. You might like to try a sustainability plan in one of your schools. We can send you the template and examples. You might want to try it with your community. We can help you to organize that. It takes an hour to do the workshop and another hour to develop an implementation strategy after you've collated the information. This tool is very simple, but it's effective because it brings together ideas from a group of people. A third tool is demonstration projects, which is simply showing people how things are done. One is the Ottawa Sustainability Tour. This is the booklet, and I have one for each of you. This is a self-guided tour by car, bus, or bicycle to 10 great sites that illustrate the 10 themes of sustainability. It was created by over 60 organizations and volunteers and launched by the Mayor of Ottawa last fall. This August, we had a conference with delegates from 17 countries, and when it was over, we took them on the sustainability tour, and they loved it. They said it was a really nice way to get to learn about Ottawa. You might want to develop a sustainability tour in Smith Falls. I can sit down and I can write you guidelines on how to do that. But you can take any project that's appropriate and make it a demonstration project for sustainability, opening it up to view and letting people learn from the project as it goes on. The fourth tool, the last tool, is a council of stakeholders, sharing ideas to guide our sustainability efforts. We've been using it in our for 5.5 years now, but we want to use it more in the future to help other organizations improve their projects. So we have a theme meeting, sort of like tonight, but a little longer. Invite people to present their projects, key stakeholders who have ideas to offer, and the public, and provide feedback and help to the projects. Now, you can continue this process in Smith Falls if you like. You might find organizations willing to host different thematic meetings, energy waste, and so on. And you could cover the 10 themes in 10 months if you wanted to. And this would really contribute to project development. We think the Biosphere Eco-City approach can work in any community for 3 reasons. 1, it's simple. It's easy to understand and easy to use. 2, it's based on human capital, which is a universal resource. And 3, it's inexpensive. In Ottawa, it's cost us less than $200 a year, not counting some grant money flowing through the projects. I'm encouraging you to try out the BEC tools and themes, and you'll have this PowerPoint distributed later if you want it, I think. Try them out in Smith Falls, but also keep using your local organizations. You've done so well at doing that. If you'd like to use some regional organizations, I can recommend 2. One is the Rideau Roundtable, which of course is represented by people here co-sponsoring this meeting. They have great projects for nature, culture, and recreation. They have application forms here as well, if you'd like to join. And the other is Sustainable Eastern Ontario, which connects organizations, particularly green business, community energy, and nonprofits, developing nonprofits. They have offices in Westport and in Ottawa, and their website is very easy to find. So this is my little idea of what you might do tonight after you go home. Look at the Ottawa database of sustainability projects. Find your theme of interest, read about a few projects, and jot down some ideas. And then write down the list of a couple of people you can call tomorrow to talk about your ideas, and then go to bed. Let your subconscious work on it. You will help make Smith Falls sustainable. This is our contact information. I'll leave this up, and we'd be happy to hear from you.
Idea of sustainability. You mentioned Canadian Tire, but I think the place that most people in Smith Falls visited is the grocery store. So that it would be a good place to get started if you can convert 10% of the population to think about sustainability, like you say, this would be a sustainable place. And also organizations like Rideau has been around for a long time and has provided a number of workshops, and that really is, for example, I like to see a workshop on how do you construct your raised bed vegetable as nice as that in Rideau for $500. A friend of mine spent $2,500, and it's not as good as the real deal one.
There's somebody here from Independent Grocers.
Yeah, the obvious.
Howdy. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. We go to grocery store. We need to go to grocery store.
I think you're going to have to break down sustainability and break it down so people can understand.
Yeah.
Because we just got, if I did a project for the store where it was an information session or something that would hand out or we talk about or set up, they have to understand it. If they don't understand it, then it's lost.
Yes. Yes, and that's why we did the sustainability tour. We've also done a tour on, we did a project on agriculture biodiversity, but you can actually download this to your phone as well. On our website you can find how to do that. You take the booklet, it tells you what the theme means. You can see how this site illustrates the theme and what you can see and do here. So that's useful, yes. We're trying to get people engaged. And really, I don't think it matters how they get engaged in sustainability. Some people are more interested in food, obviously, people here. Some people, their passion is waste reduction, or it's energy. But if somebody starts to do something on sustainability, they get on a learning pathway. And they'll progress from there. They'll do something more ambitious and more ambitious. This also helps the experts. We've become a society where we rely a lot on experts, and that makes sense because it's complicated, our world. But what we have in many cities is we have these educated people, really educated people with PhDs or master's degrees in sustainability, and they develop the plans for the people to use. We have good ideas everywhere. Everybody has an idea. And I want those ideas to come up. So we don't want the planning just from the top. We want it to occur all through society, horizontally. But yeah, it's a good point. It has to be understandable.
Jim, has the City of Ottawa set targets for sustainability? Have they included it in their official plan, for instance?
They developed a plan choosing our future, and it was never implemented. It was presented to council, and they hemmed and hawed, and basically they accepted it. They didn't action it, they accepted it, if you know what I mean. I've accepted your job application. Doesn't mean I've given them the job. I'm not trying to be hard on that. I worked on it as well. But the city let some people go, transfer people out of the section that was producing it. There was a large number of people who had just moved out, and they don't have that section anymore. So there's probably stuff for sustainability in the plan, like there is in any town or city's plans, but there isn't a concrete directed effort anymore.
Does that matter?
Some people are really upset about it. It's lost time. It's lost time. We are completely non-government, and we're non-aligned, and we don't lobby. So we're not telling the city what to do, and there's organizations in Ottawa that very loudly tell the city what to do. And we don't, because we consider the city as one of the stakeholders. Government is. But I would like to see that more successful, but I would also like to see people doing whatever they can do any way they want, on their own accord, as they wish. Yes, please.
What's the effect of having a biosphere eco-city on tourism? Is it sort of as a draw? Do you find that it's upped tourism for some places? Do you find that it's something that speaks to people, that it draws people in, that it could be spun that way as well?
We don't know. We did a presentation to Ottawa Tourism, and they liked it. They thought it was great. They shared information with a blogger in Toronto, but there are no statistics, so we can't tell. We can't tell if it's a draw or not. So we don't know. We're just working on faith, really.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Do we not have to consider who it is that's trying to sustain? You know, the oil companies want to sustain their profits, the banks want to sustain their profits, the traders want to sustain the trading activity between countries. You know, what are we trying to sustain? I'm concerned with sustaining myself and the people around me.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
there's
that's a good focus.
A lot of negative sustainability going on.
There is, and the misuse of words. we stayed out of that battle so far, and we have a lot of young people in our group as well. We have people in their 20s and 30s, and we have people in their 60s to 80s, like many volunteer groups today. But we're lucky to have the young people, and a lot of them. And a couple of them have commented that the reason they're in the Biosphere Eco-City organization is because it's so positive. We're focusing on what we can do. We're just saying, well, yeah, be concerned about big oil or whatever you want to fight, and fight it. But we're not fighting it. We're saying to people, do what you can do. Do it freely. And if you want to lobby the city or lobby the government or the UN, sure. We're not doing it, but you have another life, you can do that as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that, yeah, keep talking and discussing and finding ways to address those nasty things happening, but also what can you do around you, with the people around you in the community? What can a company do, a small company do, to promote sustainability? We're not talking about rules and regulations, we're talking about people making their own decisions. This has benefits for government, it has benefits for experts. I mentioned experts earlier. Right now we have experts who they get hired to develop plans and this sort of strategies. And they have a certain amount of business and they're all trying to survive, which is natural. If you had sustainability, if you could increase the number of people in Ottawa, for example, involved in sustainability by 10 times, which still wouldn't be a huge number of people, but it would be really good. Community groups developing projects, those projects would become more and more ambitious with time, more sophisticated, and they'd be bringing in the experts. The work for the experts would increase tenfold. And a city or a town has to do a presentation. They have some idea on sustainability. And so they try to sell it to the public. People say, well, I don't understand it, it's complicated. But if people are engaged, if they understand sustainability, because they're involved in terms of food, or they're involved in terms of recreation, or they're involved in terms of habitat, they come into those meetings and they say, I understand it. I like your plan, and here's how you can improve your plan. Here's my ideas. And that would make the plans better and much easier to sell. So, because it would be something that people would know. I'll take a chance here and give you an analogy I use, and you may disagree with it, but the Soviet Union had a planned economy. All decisions were made at the top in Moscow. You wanted to open a new factory, Moscow would decide what city the factory would be, what building it would use, who would build the building, where you get the supplies, who you'd hire, what you'd pay them, who you'd sell, how you'd distribute it. And that system kept everything controlled, and it was very inefficient. And we have the free enterprise system here, where people make their own decisions. You know, I want to open a flower shop. You just go do it. If you can do it, figure it out, you do it. So, if sustainability was treated in the same way, I call it free enterprise sustainability. I don't mean capitalism, I mean free enterprise in terms of energy, enthusiasm, your own decisions. Then people just do it. Yes, the city is going to keep doing their job. They have to, the municipality, the town, they're going to do what they need to do, possibly better. But a pizza company can say, well, how can I reduce my transportation costs and save fuel? That's sustainability. A construction company can develop a plan to cut off 2x4s and work them into the development of other housing and reduce waste by 25%. And that's being done in some places in Canada. Sustainability is a practical, cost-saving measure that makes things better. And people will, if they're doing it of their own accord, of their own free will, they're not going to do something because there's a regulation. They're going to do something because it's to their benefit. They're going to save money. They're going to make their place better. They're going to feel good about what they do. They're going to make the future better, whatever their reason. They make the decision. So what we're trying to do with the Biosphere Eco-City is put it out there saying, here's a simple way to communicate on sustainability, to share, to learn, to work together, to build on each other's experiences. That's why the model's so simple. And when you use it, you do what you want. If you can't stand the thought of working on waste, but you love working on food, don't worry about waste. Somebody else will take care of it in terms of developing sustainability initiative. You just do what you want to do, and you're going to help solve the problem.
Smith Falls really have a lot of potential. Look at the room here tonight. And also look at, how many places can you find? You have a location that has 400 acres, 50 buildings, that all sorts of good things can happen. And when you start sharing the ideas later, we can document and you can catch up on how can we further on that good idea? How can we further to for example, how do we reduce the waste with the community garden? How do we get the community expertise to work with schools so that the kids learn more and more things, good things can happen? We build citizens, we engage people, and we build communities and add to sustainability. Now, at this point here, we have a 10-minute break, but I just want to make sure that the session that Jim is presenting has been videotaped. And I'm going to ask Jim for his PowerPoint too, so that if you have the sign-up sheet, I will automatically send those to you, okay? So that you can look at that further, and perhaps there's certain hidden jewel that it will strike you again when you, what did he say? That was something interesting. And also, hopefully, later on in the workshop, we will generate ideas. It's a brainstorm session based on some of those needs that were addressed and others. Okay, so anything goes. It will be recorded by 2 of our volunteer business students, and those reports then will be shared with you. Okay, so we have up to 8:30. And if you haven't signed up, will you please come to the front? So we have a short break. Thank you.
Thanks for this information.